Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another 2026 election prediction for the month of December 2025. So, they were about 11 months away from the 2026 Senate elections. And let's just go with the safe red and safe blue states. So, these are states won by either party by an over 10% margin, so they're just not going to be competitive at all. So the Republicans have a pretty strong floor. They're already at 45 seats. The Democrats, on the other hand, they're already at a floor of 40. So then we go into the other states that are going to be a little bit closer. So starting off with Florida, I would still classify this as an R plus 10 state. So I don't really think it's going to be competitive. In New Mexico, the Republicans literally have nobody running on the Republican side here that's like anyone that's halfway decent. I guess there's Ben Luna, but I basically never heard of the guy. So this is going to be a safe blue seat. And then we have New Jersey with Cory Booker. So the Democrats won by 14 points in the governor's race. And all those polls that said Cory Booker had a low approval rating, they also got their governor's race massively wrong. So I think Cory Booker's on track for an over 10-point victory. Mark Warner in Virginia, let's see if he's running against anyone that's decent. Pretty much nobody. Glenn Youngkin's already declined on running for this seat. So Mark Warner's on track for a pretty easy victory in 2026. All right. So now we're going to take a look at the state of Minnesota and see if the Republicans finally got somebody to run. Okay, they have a former Navy SEAL running, someone who ran for Congress before, and Royce White, who probably will be the favorite to win the Republican primary. Let's take a look at fundraising. So far, Adam Schwarzy, he's actually leading the fundraising battle, so there's a chance here that they go with him instead. But so far, Royce White, he only has the endorsement of Mike Lindell, while one GOP senator, Tim Sheehy, has endorsed Adam Schwarzy. So right now, I think Republicans might end up going with the former Navy SEAL in this contest because of just how bad Royce White lost by. So he's already getting like Republican Senate support unless Trump decides to endorse Royce White again. I think this is going to be a likely blue race in Minnesota. But if White was the nominee, it would be safe blue. So let's take a look at the state of New Hampshire next. Currently in New Hampshire, the Republican nominee is most likely going to be John E. Sununu. He is leading the Republican primary, but not by an amazing amount. He's only up by about 9 points. So Scott Brown actually could win this race so far. But he's kind of coasting off his last name in this race. I don't think that's going to win him in the general election, honestly. So far, Chris Pappas is easily beating Scott Brown in the polls. It's a much closer race when you have Sununu in here. He's only up by 4, but those undecideds, they're probably going to lean towards the Democrats because it's an off-year election Trump's highly disapproved of. So I think Chris Pappas is going to win by about 6 points against Johnny Sununu right now. So that last name is enough for him to win over those independents. Next, we're going to take a look at the state of Nebraska. And I don't think there's have been any new polling out of this race as of recently, but let's just check. So far, it's only been Democratic pollsters showing a close race. They kind of showed a close race last time back in 2024 with Osborne, and he lost by a likely Republican margin, so that's my real guess in this race. I think Ricketts beats Osborne by 6. Next, we're taking a look at Texas, and it looks likely that Jasmine Crockett is going to run in the Democratic primary. She's going to announce whether or not she's going to run in a few days. So she would probably be a top contender in the Democratic primary. There will be a runoff if neither candidate gets over 50% of the vote in the Senate primary here. But I would say it's between Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett for those top two spots. So, again, Jasmine Crockett, she is going to do very well with black voters in this race. So she could end up winning the Democratic primary, dooming Democrats' chances in the Senate election, because she does poll worse than Tallarico does. But honestly, even if Tallarico is the nominee, I still think he would end up losing to Ken Paxton in this race. Just because Paxton previously, in 2022, he won by a likely Republican margin. And I don't think him getting a divorce is honestly going to matter to voters in Texas. I don't think they're honestly going to care if he cheated on his wife. It doesn't really matter to them. So even though he had kind of a corrupt attorney, even though he's a kind of a corrupt attorney general in Texas, I don't really think that matters to voters as well here. So I still think Paxton is going to win this race. If he's up against Tallarico, he's going to win by like 5 points. If he's up against Crockett, he'll probably win by about 7. So, again, I think Texas, no matter what, is likely Republican. I don't really think it matters who the Democrats run in that race. I don't really think they should put a lot of money into this race either. I think it's a big waste of money. It's a big state, so fundraising, all those ads are going to cost a lot of money. I think they have better opportunities if Mary Patola runs in Alaska and Iowa and Ohio and Maine and North Carolina as possible flips than Texas. I would just write it off. If I was running their campaign, I would just focus on those other states instead. So we're going to take a look at Alaska next, and it's really only in conversation if Mary Patola does indeed run in the Democratic primary. She's currently waiting to whether to run for Congress or for governor. So anything's on the table for her. If she were to run for Senate, she'd be a pretty good candidate. She's already basically tied with Dan Sullivan in the polls. So if she were to run, I would put this as a lean Republican race. She could beat this guy in a midterm year. She typically does better in midterm elections. So I would put this as a lean Republican now, assuming she does run. But then again, that could change. If she decides not to run, this would be a safe Republican race, and Alaska would be off the board as a competitive race. Next state we're going to take a look at would be North Carolina. Roy Cooper, popular Democratic governor, or former governor. He's currently leading in all the polls, especially in the Republican pollsters. He's leading, and Harper polling is a pretty sizable lead. He's up by 5.7 so far. So I do expect that to narrow. I don't think he's going to win by 5 points, but I do think he's on track for a decent-sized victory in North Carolina. I think he's going to win by about 3 percentage points as of right now. I think he's a pretty solid candidate, and he's the one candidate that could really flip North Carolina blue out of all of them. And he never lost a statewide race before, so I doubt he's going to lose it in 2026. Next up, we're going to take a look at Georgia. Jon Ossoff is most likely going to be facing Mike Collins, who is not a moderate at all. He isn't Brian Kemp. And so far in the polling, Jon Ossoff is beating Mike Collins. Yeah, according to Real Clear Politics, he's leading him by about 2.3 percentage points. So I think this race is going to be about a 2-point race. I think Ossoff is going to win by 2%. He's going to win in those independents. And with a competitive governor's race, probably boosting black turnout, that'll help Ossoff get a decent-sized victory of about 2 percentage points. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the state of Michigan. So, again, polls still kind of show that Mike Rogers is leading narrowly in the Michigan Senate race. I expect those undecideds to go to the Democrats, though, because, again, Trump's approval rating in Michigan is around minus 15 or so. So those undecideds aren't going to randomly break for the Republican candidate because they want to reward Trump for having a low approval rating. He's getting a low approval rating on the economy, so those undecideds are going to end up breaking for the Democrats in this state. So I really think it's kind of due to low name ID, especially for McMorrow and El Said. Because, again, Haley Stevens is more well known. That's why she's leading more of these polls right now. I don't think she's the best candidate. I think McMorrow is probably the best, and I think El Said's probably the weakest. I'd be the most nervous about him being the Democratic nominee. But if Stevens or McMorrow is the nominee, they probably win by around 2%. Yeah, I'd say about 2% points as of right now. Maybe by about 3. I think it'll be kind of on par with North Carolina. So I'd say about 3 if it was McMorrow or Stevens, and with El Said it would probably be a 1.5% margin. He would still narrowly win, but it would be by a bit more of a reduced margin. So I still think Michigan's Senate seat is going blue. I don't really buy it that it's that close, especially with Trump's approval rating being that negative in the state. We're going to see undecideds go with the Democrats as we go into this election. Now we're going to take a look at the state of Maine. And so far, it's interesting what's going on in the Democratic primary. Plattner has a lead here. But again, Republican pollster shows he has a massive lead. One poll that showed him with a big lead, University of New Hampshire, was before all those scandals came out. SoCal, they informed voters about the scandals and would have Jeanette Mills beating Plattner. His own internal pollster, Plattner's poll, only has him up by 6. So I still think Jeanette Mills is going to be the nominee. So I'm curious to see more polling out of this race. But I think those scandals are going to take Graham Plattner down in the Democratic primary. If he were the general election nominee, Susan Collins has a good shot at beating him. I think she would be the favorite if he were the nominee. And I think Jeanette Mills, if she's the nominee, she'll pretty much beat Susan Collins by about 2 points. So if Plattner was the nominee, I think he would lose by about 2 points as well. So it's really about Jeanette Mills beating Graham Plattner here because he's just very scandal-ridden, and I don't think he would be the best Democratic candidate. So I'm assuming Jeanette Mills wins the primary here. And now we head into Ohio and Iowa, and this is really where Senate control is going to be fought on these two battleground states. Iowa's economy is really bad right now. They're lost 6% from their GDP in the year of 2025. The governor of Iowa is very heavily disapproved of, so Iowa is probably going to trend towards the Democrats in the 2026 elections, in the governor's race and the Senate race, so that's why I'm thinking it's going to be a competitive Senate race here. So there's no polling out of this race so far, but Democratic side, Turek probably will be the nominee out of all of them here. I think he's the most likely to win in this race. On the Republican side, we're going to have Ashley Hinson as the nominee. Heavy favorite for it. So I would put Iowa as lean Republican. I think Hinson's on track to win by about 3 points in Iowa's Senate race. Actually, I'd put it about 4 points. I think it'll be about R plus 4 because, again, Trump won it by about 13. So even if he loses 9% off the margin, which we saw a shift of about 8 to 9 points in Virginia and New Jersey. So that's really what I'm basing Iowa being R plus 4 on because we have no polls so far, no real data. But Hinson, she did outperform Trump in her congressional district in northern Iowa, so she would have strength in that part of Iowa. But I do think she's on track to win by about 4% points. So Ohio is going to be closer than Iowa because Sherrod Brown is going to be the Democratic nominee. The Republican side, we have John Husted as the incumbent U.S. Senator. He's not really amazingly a good candidate for the Republicans. He's like your generic Republican. He isn't a bad candidate. So they have at least that going for him. So far, Husted is leading by about 2% points in the polls. Brown starting to have some leads in some Senate polling, but this is Ohio. Usually it kind of shifts towards the Republicans at the end of the day. So I think Houston's still on track to beat Sherrod Brown. I'd say about by a 2-point margin. So we don't have any tilts on this map. So the Republicans have a 70% chance at winning the Senate. Democrats have a 30% chance. They have a path through Ohio, Iowa, and Alaska if Mary Peltola runs. So it's still very likely Republicans will win the Senate in 2026. But, 30% chances, they happen all the time in elections. So it's not really awful for the Democrats to be at this starting position because they still have a 3 in 10 chance at winning a Senate majority in 2026. So thank you all for watching this video. If you're new to this channel, you enjoy U.S. political content like this, you should definitely subscribe. Other than that, I will see y'all in the next video, which will be a U.S. House election prediction for 2026. See ya.